We're going to dig into the most common questions that I've received about this, okay? There's a lot of common questions. And on Instagram, I got hit up with a ton of questions, and a lot of them were repeating, okay? It's like over and over and over, I kept getting the same thing over and over. So we're going to dig into these questions. So the most common questions I've received. Number one is, why 50 grams of net carbohydrates? Now, I want to be clear. It's important to use this number because we need a large enough portion so that we can get a good, strong response from that one specific food in question, okay? But it's also not so large that it's completely impossible to eat. Now, for instance, I've been given a lot of examples of foods that you guys want me to test. Somebody wanted me to test coconut milk. I would have to drink 50 ounces of coconut milk to get 50 grams net carbs. It's not feasible. That one can't be tested, right? So for instance, the blueberries I ate seemed like a huge serving to everybody. It was 415 grams of blueberries, or I think it was 15 ounces of raw organic blueberries, okay? But once it was gone, I realized how easy it was to eat and how much I wanted more of it when it was gone. It was delicious, it was like candy. I never eat anything that sweet ever. I never eat fruit, and all I wanted was more afterwards, okay? So fruit is dangerous in that way. So a lot of people came trying to poo-poo my tests because it was such a big amount of food. But this is exactly why I did it. It's very important. So in a minute here, I'm gonna cover how and why you would ever test smaller portions of food as we discuss immune responses. It's really not a good idea at all to start testing with a small amount of food. That doesn't make sense, okay? Now, the other question is, why no other foods? This is the number one question that I got, I think. I think this was number one because it came in so many different ways. Now, a lot of it was influencers and bloggers and other people trying to tell me how to manage my own blood glucose, which I don't want to be a total sarcastic jerk about this, but it was hilarious to me, okay? Because here's what happened. Is this idea of, well, why didn't you mix it with other foods? You should mix it with other foods to make it healthier, right? All these kinds of comments. This has made it super apparent to me that virtually every influencer and blogger out there online who are actively giving people advice, giving people nutrition advice every day. I can't tell you the number of trainers and people that I see giving their friends advice and posting on their Facebook and all this stuff. It's all over the place. It's rampant, people giving nutrition advice, right? Now, these comments made it super apparent to me that virtually none of these influencers or bloggers have even the slightest understanding of human biochemistry. They just don't. They don't understand biochemistry. Now, I'm not saying they couldn't understand it, or they can't understand it, or they're not smart enough to understand it. I'm not attacking them as people. I'm just saying it's apparent that they have never even attempted to study biochemistry. They haven't even attempted it. They just don't know how this works, okay? So let's talk about this idea of combining other foods, why this keeps coming up in the nutrition world. You gotta do this. It's this myth of, quote unquote, slowing down the glucose release in the bloodstream or lessening the blood sugar spike, or in more common terms, they'll tell you that you can lower the glycemic response or the glycemic index of carbs by eating them with fats and proteins. What this is just another one of the endless ways that humans desperately try every day to make carbohydrates magically become less harmful. And it's yet another thing that doesn't work. It's yet another myth, okay? I know, everybody wants carbs to be healthy. They're just not, okay? They're not required for human survival. Something that's just not required by the human body, probably not going to be healthy, okay? So stop with the, you guys really think after 18 months of Clovis, of me giving you all this information and the years that I've spent studying biochemistry, that I don't know that eating fat with carbohydrates lessens the glucose spike? What? Okay, so let's talk about this. The problem with this myth is there's nothing more obesogenic on earth. I've talked to you guys about this. There's nothing more obesogenic, which is obesity promoting, than eating sugars and fats together, okay? So now you have people taking high glycemic index foods and smothering them with butter and coconut oil and whatever the hell else. They're literally making the biochemical equivalent of a Krispy Kreme donut and eating them. This is crazy. Now, I'm talking specifically about fat storage here, of course, okay? It's a dangerous combination of energy macros, your energy macros of fat and carbohydrates. Don't combine those two ad nauseum, right? If you're eating a bunch of high glycemic index carbohydrates, don't add a bunch of fat to it. You just shouldn't be eating the high glycemic index carbohydrates to begin with, okay? So I'm gonna give you a quick lesson on glycemic index and glycemic load and why this is so important to understand, okay?